What are your thoughts on the Trump assassination attempt and the investigation that they're doing? I don't have a lot of confidence in government investigations, but what are your thoughts on that whole situation?
The Trump assassination is the only thing that gives me comfort we're going to win. And here's how I mean that, knowing the man personally. The only thing that matters to me is he turned his head from the split-second kill shot, just enough in that turning of his head to look that it went through his ear. That was a kill shot. That was not a kid that did it. And that tells me God's watching over us. In a nanosecond, it could have been so different. We came 1 inch away from losing the man. And that tells me God's watching. And God just may have us pull through this. But that's going to require our active participation. As far as the shooter, I've done, I think so far, 8 hours of forensic analysis now on the shooting and everything. Yes, there are multiple shooters involved, but it's not like people saying from the water tower, that's crap. That's total crap. We're going to find out even more. I do not believe the kid was necessarily the bad actor they portrayed it to. I do believe he was a patsy. I believe the shot came from behind him within his line of sight. All of the forensics lead me to believe, with the delays and everything else, it being exactly 29 minutes when he's poised to shoot, that they stood down. I think it was all intentional. It concerned me when President Trump went the other day and spoke at the National Broadcast Journalists Association, because they delayed that one exactly 29 minutes. Most people didn't pick up on that. And so I worried that something was wrong. I think they're going to try it again. I really do. I pray for the president, but I think they're going to try it again. If they don't try it again, they're probably going to try something at the DNC and blame it on us. But we are getting more information, and thank God for Twitter, and thank God for what Elon Musk did in opening that up, because we can see with our own eyes and do it. But it does not help people getting out there and getting clicks that say, I found the shooter on top of the water tower and he was tied by a zip tie and he repelled and a government vehicle picked him up. That's all crap. Total crap. I've already shown that, shown everything, the forensics, the photos and everything. We have to get away from the BS promotion. We got to get right down to the facts. But you know what? Here's the deal, folks. Don't worry if there was another shooter. Bet on it. See, you shouldn't be focused on a shooter, JFK style, trying to solve this. You know what you should be focused on? Why were there so many failures allowed to happen? They're going to serve you little things to run in a rabbit hole. And if you let your mind get wrapped up with that, well, it was at the exact angle, at the exact time. And if you add them all up, they add to 137, you divide it by 21, stop that crap. Focus on one thing. It was allowed to happen due to breach in protocol and security failures. Always focus on the government. Keep your heat there, because they're trying to get your heat other places. And that is called the dilution protocol, which is what they put into effect.
Yeah, it is very suspicious, right? There could be two people shooting from a very similar angle. One of them happens to be dead. You'll never get answers out of that person. How convenient, right?
I'm still waiting to see the forensics on the autopsy kid, because his front teeth were blown out. Now, let me state that again. His front teeth were blown out, not in. And then if it was a headshot and I'm looking at the roof, number one, I can see where he clearly is 2 foot from the crown. That's supposedly where the shot took place. 2 foot from the crown ridge of the building, which is plausible. When you see the video later, he's moved in excess of 20 feet backwards, and the blood trail from his head goes another 30 feet down and off the building. You don't bleed out if it's a kill shot. There's no blood. That's a kill shot. That's how you know. How did he bleed out?
Yeah, I've wondered that, because there's no blood splatter. It was literally like a little stream of blood.
That means you bled out, right? Yeah. That's why it was still dark and gooey and thick. That's a steady line of bleed. But remember, it's drying as it goes, and it's supposedly on a hot roof. Well, think about how much had to go to get all the way down to the end. If it was a headshot, folks, here's the reality, and I'm horrible that I know this personally, but when it's a headshot, it isn't red, it's pink, right? And it's chunky because it's a headshot, but it's primarily pinkish white, not red, not like you think. And so he wasn't shot in an automatic kill shot, or he would have not bled out. The only way he could have bled that far is if all the blood was in his head, which is totally impossible. There are many, 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 many questions I still have regarding the forensics of what really happened.
But will we actually get the truth? Yes, I
hear they're gonna release it with the JFK files.
Yeah.
Look, you and I are sitting here, and we'd love that report. And it's 62 years later. Yeah. I want you to think about that, folks.
Yeah.
They clearly identify who they really are and what they really do just by that lack of information.
Wouldn't the teeth blown out, even if it was a headshot, be from behind?
That well, you caught the point why I'm so concerned about it. Yeah. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at his right incisors, I guess that's number what, 9 and 10, blown out and up to the right, and the rest missing. That's a headshot that's going to catch you right in the pocket of your skull here at a very slight angle, maybe a deflection from the base of the skull, which means they would be a little higher shooting down, which would deflect from the skull and come out right about there where it is. It wouldn't be from the front, and it certainly wouldn't be from the forehead. And I don't think he knocked his tooth out or was trying to pull teeth on the building and then said, screw it, I can't get that tooth out, and then laid down to shoot. Do you?
Yeah, let me get rid of my my dental imprint.
Right. Oh, screw it. I just got it out to here, but I'm going to stop.
Are you familiar with Dr. Chris Martenson? He's doing a lot of the forensic on the audio of the different shooting.
I've seen it. Thus far, I agree with it. I totally agree with the cadence and compression issue. It was good to use sound. We did the same thing. Sound creates a fingerprint. You can see the multiple shots from multiple rifles, and it's dead on from the suppression standpoint that it came from the inside. One of the things I said early is we probably need to look for a Malvo type concealment. And if you remember, that was the DC sniper shooting through the keyhole of the trunk, and they just laid in the car, removed the little badge on the car and shot through it, and then covered it back and laid on the trunk. There's a Malvo element to this.
Wow. Yeah. Because when I had him come on my show, and we went through that, and I could clearly hear a difference.
Right.
But then because I've been dealing with my cardiologist lately, I was also like, these look like two different heartbeats, right?
It's exactly how you should look at them. The waveform vectors, the vector scope of the waveforms look like a heartbeat, and through that you get a signature.
What else has caught your attention? I didn't know that you were looking into this, so now I'm very curious since I have you on here.
Well, I have a really good program that's called Cut the Crap, Culture, Race, and American Politics. Yeah. I came out the next morning and started on the forensics. I just look at it from a logical standpoint. No assumptions about what happened. We just know a shooting happened. Then from there, you let the forensics tell you the story. And of course, I can see the cross-angulation involved. I can see that President Trump's out here, but they've got the large stand wrapped around him. That's part of the security measure, by the way. And I can see with the 3 people that got hit in the audience, it would come from that side because this person here got clipped, and then 2 over here got clipped, and it hit the rails, and it hit the hydraulics on the lift, which was holding the speakers. That's all directional to the same place to me. Here's what concerns me. That shot was so precise that it was professional. Now, you have to understand what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a high-speed but subsonic bullet, which is a smaller signature, which means you have to literally be dead on. And the best forensic of that scene is the nick at the front of the ear and the nick at the back of the ear. It came through perfectly level. No angle to it. perfectly level. Hell, you could have stuck a ruler in the side of POTUS's head, right? And that tells me a very steady, timed right shot, but only by an act of God when he's there, and it would have popped them in the right place. This is where you want to hit it. Not even there with a small subsonic, because it can deflect. If there's a slight turn, it's right there in your soft temple tissue. And just that one very slight turn off took it from that kill area right to his ear level. That particular forensic bothers me. When you have 5 to 8 shots in between, basically, to me, that's cover shots for disarray to hide the kill shot. And so it was kill shot first, bunch of other chatter after the fact to cover it.
Yeah, Chris Martinson said it's almost like the first 3 were really controlled, super professional, because he's shown those audio waves to professional shooters.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. And those were very controlled. And then there's 5 that are not controlled. Right.
Right.
And that's where it looks like 2 different shooters, 2 different sounds, 2 different heartbeats, 2 different guns.
And it's to cause confusion and chaos, which they need for cover to run away.
And they say within 15 seconds of the first shot, the counter sniper gets a miracle shot through this really difficult place right into the head. That also is not making sense to me.
I watched the sniper that they said took him out. That is not what I see. I watched both him and his spotter. They thought they were being shot at. When you see that one sniper that's assigned directly behind President Trump, right? And they had this open pizza slice. They should have seen it. But yes, there was a tree there. This was all very well planned. They're scoping to try to see what they hear the chatter on the air, but the kid's conveniently behind a tree. He's scoping his optic, looking between his long-range optic and his short-range optic, and he's doing this. And then he looks up to think, what am I seeing? And you see him jump with the shot, and you see the tip of his barrel go up because he does this. He didn't take that shot. His spotter, who's laying right next to him, right, flat, prone, he recoils back kind of in a crouch. They didn't take the shots. I still want to know who took them out. And I think that's why we're not seeing autopsy. And I think that might solve the mystery of which direction did the kill bullet come from. I'm not convinced it was that frontal shot by a sniper, and I'm not convinced it was at all for any reason a headshot. And simple forensics proves that. The kid would not have bled out like that with a professionally placed 308, which is what the snipers had at that distance, that had taken off half his head.
Well, the other thing is if his feet are sloped down and his head's sloped up, to get that amount of blood, that blood's got to pump back up to the injury and then come back down, right?
And have the continual feed momentum to keep on pushing blood, which congeals fast on a hot tin roof. It's going to get thicker and thicker, but it continued to push it all the way down the ramp. Oh, then by the way, don't forget, and this is part of the forensics I did on the blood and DNA part of it. They did not follow any standard with bioremediation, which means how do you deal with blood on the scene? Didn't do hazmat triage, didn't do bioremediation, and within hours, it was the FBI on top of the building washing all the evidence away. They washed the building.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I was like, this roof is so steep that someone from the FBI can stand up there with a hose and wash all the blood away.
Well, I don't think it as much was about the blood evidence. Let me tell you what I think about. When I did my analytics on the blood and the DNA, and when I did that program, I showed people what a footprint looks like on these roofs. This is not normal traffic on the roof. So they leave a footprint. And so what I would have done immediately if I was director of Secret Service, first thing I would have done is I would have gone to every plausible building in the area. You interview everybody and you ask them the following. Number one, has anybody ever been on the building doing a repair? You'll either find out they did or they didn't. If you find out they did, you're going to find out when and where and what it was. You're going to say, have you been on the roof? Have you ever been outside? Pay attention. Have you ever been outside and taken a piss on this side of the building? Now, why would I ask that? Because that's where they washed the DNA. Okay. because I'm already thinking I'm going to have to pick this shit up off the ground, right? But what I would find is right behind me with the Trump team, I am ostensibly going to high-def photograph that roof. Now, what am I going to see? I'm going to see what I can 100% confirm are absolutely fresh footprints on a roof where people don't hang out. So I'm now going to be able to establish what a fresh footprint looks like on a dusty roof. Now, let's say I found a building quarter-mile distant, same type of roof, and we find out they were doing air condition repair, right? And they had somebody up there 9 months ago. Again, you document the roof. We look at it. We look at the feet prints that are up there. Now I'm going to know the difference between immediate and 9 months. Now I got something to measure against, right? Which means all of those roofs that came into play, I can tell within the window within 9 months was somebody up there. And I guarantee you why they were washing the roof had nothing to do with DNA. It had to do, there were more footprints than people as they planned it and walked it all out. That's why they washed the roof. And forensics would have proven it, but they violated every protocol.
But yeah, they don't want and how about them showing up so unprepared for this congressional hearing? It's like, it looks so suspicious when they can't answer questions for Congress.
I think when we were looking at the lady that everybody referred to as the DEI hire, and I agree, I think she had to make a simple choice. Do I die for my country? Or do I claim ignorance? And I think she was more than willing to make herself look like a fool, that she would play the game knowing she was going to get canned and they could just leave her alone and she never has to say anything again. That's the choice I think she made.
And she still gets her salary, so, oh gosh. Well, I really hope that we get answers on that. I'd be very curious to know what Donald Trump is thinking and doing behind the scenes, because publicly he's saying, I'm grateful for the Secret Service. I still trust the Secret Service. The lady that helped me, I still trust her, but I do wonder behind the scenes if he's going, how do we get to the truth on why I was shot?
It would be a fool, and President Trump's not a fool, to say the Secret Service, see them, that's fake Secret Service. He'd never do that. The second part of it is when you look at the protocol that should have happened, President Trump's a big guy. I'm 6'2". He's even taller than me, right? He's a big guy. And like when I go to Mar-a-Lago and met with them, I know those Secret Service guys that were there that their heads were higher than him and they've got their hands up trying to cover him. That's exact protocol. I want to know at the last minute, why did they swap him out with women that were almost a foot and a half shorter where his head is exposed? There's a lot more to look at than planned. In his face, the two things that were monumental to me, watching his face pop up and say fight, he was pissed. He was freaking pissed. If he'd have had the guy in front of him, you would have seen Donald J. Trump rip the freaking head off. He was pissed. That was anger. But then when you see him, when he came out at convention the first time and you see him walking through the hall and everybody says he looks sick and sad. No, he was just about to bust into tears. He was fighting back tears because he is so in love with America and the American people. And he's so thankful he has you. And that man, you brought him to tears and support. And he was just like overwhelmed with incredible joy. So he was fighting back the tears. That's the man. Everything's wrong with everything that happened. But folks, it's not over.